Hey authors, do you even know how to fish? I grew up fishing. I grew up on the coast of North Carolina. Did a lot of fishing, especially as a teenager, but I've been pretty much fishing my whole life. I'll be honest, over the past couple of decades, it's been a lot less fishing. But this is a question that my friends and I would kind of joke around with. Do you even know how to fish? It's like, are you even good at what you like to do? And I'll tell you what, recently I discovered that I really didn't know how to fish. So today I'm going to talk about that, but it's in relation to how to market and sell your books as an author. By the way, my name is Travis Peterson. I am not only a children's book author, but I'm also a book designer and a self-publishing coach, and I love to help first-time authors create beautiful, wholesome books that not only will kids love, but adults will cherish. So if that's the kind of content you're looking for, I hope you will hit the subscribe button and like this video. What I wanted to do today is a little bit different. I'm actually going to sort of give my reaction to a short clip from a recent video by a man by the name of Myron Golden. Myron is he's a bit of a professional in the sales and marketing space, and so he does a lot of speaking. He runs this Make More Offers challenge, so it's all about how to form your offer, how to sell your product to your audience. Really great stuff. I love hearing to him speak, and he's, as far as I know, he is a former pastor, I believe. But he's definitely talking on a much higher scale than what I'm equipped for. He's like high-end, high profit sales. He's making, talking about making $100,000 sales and things like that, and just way beyond me. I'm not ready for that at all, and I'm not going to speak on that. But as an author and as a self-publishing coach, what he says in this short video that I'm going to share, I felt was really helpful, and it really spoke to me. So I'm just going to pull up this video real quick and share it with you. And then I'm just going to kind of share a little fishing story with you. So let's see what Myron has to say here.
If you're going fishing, a fishing pole would be nice, right? That'd be nice. A boat could be handy. A tackle box, right? But some bait. But the most important thing is a school of hungry fish. And if you don't have the school of hungry fish, you can have all the other elements. And if you don't believe me, go try to catch a fish in my swimming pool, because there are none in there. And it doesn't matter how good your bait is. It doesn't matter how good your tackle box is. It doesn't matter how good your pole is, right? And so, see, you will never be good at sales tuning people out. You have to tune in and see, you're so busy. The people who can't sell, they're so busy attempting to get people to tune into their frequency that you're not tuning into the audience's frequency. And what's amazing is when you get good at sales, what happens is, and making offers, the people you're talking to, the prospects, the audience, the client, they provide the content, you provide the context.
I love that. So Myron is kind of sharing, you can have all of the right fishing equipment. You can have the boat, you can have the fishing pole. Lots of people love to go out and buy the most expensive fishing pole and fishing rod they can find. They like to have the nice shiny boat and all of this, the tackle box with a million different pockets and all the lures and everything, and they love to have the equipment, but they might be missing the most important thing, which is a school of hungry fish. And I love that analogy for us as authors. And it really, if you're selling anything, this applies so well. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. For a long time, I fished the way I wanted to fish instead of the way the fish wanted me to fish. Um, he talked about, being tuned into your own frequency instead of, the frequency of the audience. And that's totally true. Like I fished the way I wanted to fish. I felt like I was in the right place. I'd go out into the deep end, in a boat, or just fish right off the shore. And I grew up using, I don't even know what the different tackle is called, but it'd be like 2 hooks and a sinker, and we would mostly just fish with raw shrimp, and that was what we did. And sometimes we caught fish, sometimes we didn't. But there wasn't much to it. And that's until last year. I had a chance to go home to North Carolina and celebrate my dad's 70th birthday. And my brothers and I decided to celebrate with him. We wanted to take him out on a fishing charter. So we scheduled this charter, and instead of going offshore fishing, we decided to do inshore fishing. And so we were fishing in the Intracoastal Waterway, not far from Wilmington, North Carolina, where I'm from. And we had a really great time, and it was so different from what we were used to doing, because my dad had a boat for a while, but we didn't do a whole lot of fishing off of a boat, and it was mostly, shore fishing and things like that. So this was a different experience, but it was just a fun experience for my brothers and I. But going back to what Myron said, the big thing he said was, you need a school of hungry fish. And I think, related to that, I think us authors, we make a big mistake in getting so wrapped up into what we're trying to sell and focusing on the equipment that we have, that we forget about the audience. We forget about that school of hungry fish and maybe what they want. By the way, if you like to fish, if you're an author who likes to fish, hit that like button, or even down in the comments, let me know if you like to fish. So I just have a few responses to what Myron said, because I think he's got a very good point, but I think we can go even deeper than that. And I'm sure Myron, everything I'm going to say, Myron would support, I'm pretty sure, because he's very much into marketing and sales, and he knows these things. But these are things that I've learned as I've been studying marketing for a while now, and I just thought I would really share them with you. And so my response is, number one, yeah, you need to have a school of hungry fish, but you need to know what kind of fish you want to catch. Like I said, we used to go out fishing. We fished for shrimp. We didn't know what we were fishing for. Lots of times we just catch little pinfish that they weren't edible. Maybe some people eat them. I wouldn't eat them. Very rarely would I catch anything that was edible, with that, or even large enough. And so on this fishing charter last summer, we had a really great guide, and I'm sorry I forgot his name and his business name, but one of the first things he asked us before we even got on the boat was, he said, what kind of fish are we going for today? He said, do you want to catch a lot of fish, or do you want to catch big fish? And there's a big difference, right? You can catch a lot of fish, and they may not be edible. They may not be fish you can keep. Or you can catch big fish that you can keep and you can take home and eat, and they're fun to catch and all these things. And so that kind of relates to us as authors, because you need to know what kind of fish you're fishing for. In other words, you need to know who your audience is. I like to call it the bullseye audience. See, as authors, we fall into this trap of thinking that our book might be for everyone, right? Oh, you want to sell to everyone, all the millions and billions of people in the world. Wouldn't that be great? But if you try to sell to everyone, you end up selling to no one. If you try to fish for all the fish, you may end up not catching any good fish. The same applies with our books. If you try to sell to everyone, you may not sell to anyone. You have to have a specific audience in mind. You may have heard the word niche. I like to use bullseye audience because you have everyone, and then you might find a little bit tighter group of people, and then maybe even a smaller group, and you just keep narrowing it down to the very center point of that bullseye. That's the audience you want to attract, because even that audience might be hundreds of thousands of people or even millions of people, depending on how specific you are. And even if it's just tens of thousands, that might even be enough, because they will be hungry. Those are your hungry fish. There's a lot of other fish out there, and they're not going to be hungry. There's a big audience of readers out there, but they may not be hungry for what you are wanting to fish with. They may not be hungry for what you're offering, so to speak. So you need to work on niching down your audience and trying to come up with your bullseye audience, the exact audience that you want to sell to with your books. After we on this fishing trip, my brothers and my dad, we decided, we wanted the big fish, because that's something we hadn't really experienced. We've caught fish before, but not really big fish. And so we decided we want to go for the big fish. So our guide said, all right, today we're going for red drum. Red drum, okay, that sounds good. They're a big fish, we learned. This was something that we had never caught in our family. So it was interesting. We were excited about that. They fight well. They're exciting to catch. They're a nice size, and they're good eating too. And so what happened was the guide gave us a very specific type of fish that we were going for. And one thing that I explain to my clients and my authors is you need to be able to visualize a very specific person, or what we call avatar, for your sales and for your books. Okay? In fact, most of my authors are children's book authors like myself. And I like to explain that you actually have two different avatars. And so you have to visualize these very specific fictional avatars. And I'll explain it this way. You've got a reader avatar, which are the kids who are going to read your books, or they'll be read to them. And they're the ones that are going to enjoy the story and all that. But you also have a buyer avatar. See, the kids aren't the ones going to the store and buying the books. Maybe they're there, maybe they're picking out the books, that kind of thing. But mostly it may be someone else buying the book for them as gifts, right? Because they're not old enough to just walk into a bookstore with, a credit card and pick out books. Usually that's not the case. So you've got two avatars. You've got a reader avatar, which is the kids. You've got a buyer avatar, which is usually the adults, the parents or the grandparents, aunts and uncles, teachers maybe, librarians, all these adults that are buying the books for the kids. And so those are, that's almost like your audience. And it needs to be even more specific than that for a bullseye audience. But your avatar, it might be a 35-year-old parent or mom who works from home, has her own business working from home, and is busy and loves to kind of interact with her kids and maybe their kids are, maybe one of them has a special need, and so she's looking for books that will represent that special need and really speak to that child. And so you can already see that, you can even put a name to this avatar. So name your avatars and actually, begin to visualize these specific people, a buyer avatar and a reader avatar. And by visualizing these avatars, it's going to help you to hone in on how you sell to these people and to your niche, your bullseye audience. So you need to know what kind of fish you want to catch. That's number one. Number two, you need to know where to find those fish. Like I said, we used to just go random places. We would fish off the shore. Sometimes if we were out in a boat, we'd go out into the deep end and, throw in and hope we just catch something. We didn't know where to go. But the guide knew where to go. He knew where to find those red drum. And it wasn't in the deep intracoastal waterway. Actually, the red drum was right along the marsh line in the waterway there. And so, in fact, he had a very special way of casting. I mean, he knew what he was doing so much better than I do, and he could catch that or cast that line and have the lure land right at the edge of the marsh. And those hungry red drum, they were ready for it, man. They ate it up. And so you have to know where to find those fish. So where are your customers? Where are those avatars? Where is your bullseye audience? I think it's good, when you're thinking online sales for your book, especially on Amazon. That's where most people go to find books nowadays online. Maybe unfortunately, but that's the case. And so how do you attract the right audience on Amazon? Well, it starts with having the right title, having the right subtitle and all that metadata, the book description, keywords, all that, but also choosing the right Amazon categories to put your books in, because that is going to, buyers, they are looking in specific categories sometimes. They're not using that search bar up at the top. Sometimes they are looking in those specific categories where your books are going to come up. So it's all about knowing where your audience is going to be online, and even think beyond Amazon. Where's your audience? They might be on social media, but which social network do you use? Which one is going to have the most of your audience, or are there specific forums or other places where they may be lurking that you can be hanging out and ready to interact with them? So be thinking about where they are online, and then also where is your audience offline. I love getting my book into retail locations, but I love it even more when those retail locations are very specific to my audience. So it's not just, a big bookstore with lots of books, but it might be a children's bookstore or a toy store or something like that, where I know my audience is. Okay, so beyond retail locations, think about vendors markets where your audience is. Are they going to be at, if you got a book about gardening, maybe a farmer's market, or different festivals. Like if you've got a patriotic book, maybe these festivals around 4th of July, Veterans Day, These different holidays might be really nice festivals to attend and have booths at. And then also thinking of different organizations, especially if you're bringing awareness to certain disabilities or different things like that. You can look for different organizations to contact about partnering with and getting your books out that way. So think about where your audience is both online and offline, and position yourself with your audience. Don't just be casting out everywhere. Look for your audience and position yourself with your audience. Be sure you're on the same wavelength, the same frequency with your audience, just as Myron said. And so number one, you know what kind of fish you want to catch. Number two, you know where to catch those fish, where to find those fish. And number three, you need to have the right kind of bait. You see, like I mentioned before, we would just fish with shrimp, and that shrimp attracted some fish sometimes, not all the time. There were times when we go out and didn't catch a thing. Other times we catch a lot of fish, but none of them were big. They weren't the right kind of fish. They were just whatever would bite. But if you want to catch red drum, you got to have the right kind of bait. You got to have the right kind of lures. Your equipment, your lures, they need to be attractive for the kind of fish you're fishing for. So how does that apply to books? Well, your book needs to be attractive. It needs to have a hook, and especially for children's books, the hook it might just be the front cover. They see that front cover, they're drawn to it, they pick it up, they start looking into it and all that. But even with that hook, they may not be, caught on that hook. That may not be it. Have you ever had, if you've gone fishing and you thought you hooked a fish and you start reeling it in and soon discover that it's fallen off the hook? It's kind of the same way with marketing and selling your book to the audience. You got to hook them well, and I believe that comes down to not only having an attractive front cover, but you also have to have a book that is well written, because they're going to open it up and they're going to be reading a little bit of it. If it's a children's book, they may read the whole book before they buy it. You have to have a book that's well written and well edited. It's got to be well illustrated. If the illustrations look cheap and poor and made by somebody who's just using stock imagery or AI, it's just not going to sell. It's not going to attract the right fish, the good fish that you want. And it also needs to be well designed. So all of that needs to be put together in a nice, attractive package to attract the fish that you want. So again, I love what Myron says. You need a school of hungry fish, but you need to know what kind of fish you want to catch. You need to know where those fish are, and you need to know what will attract those fish, what will hook those fish in. I hope this content has been valuable for you. If it was, please leave a comment below, hit the like button, and subscribe to my channel. By the way, I also host the Coffee and Kidlet show right here on YouTube. I'm going to be starting up again soon with some fresh new episodes. I'm looking forward to that. So please hit subscribe and stick around. I love to bring on other authors and professionals in the space to talk about their experience in self-publishing children's books and what their journey was like. So if you like that kind of content, please follow along. And thank you so much for watching. I love to end my videos with this simple saying, write the book.